When I was young, I always thought like girls like confidence, and I think they do. But I also realized eventually that there's two kinds of confidence. There is like postured confidence, like fake confidence, and then there's like real quiet self-assured confidence. And I think actually the second one is better. And the interesting thing about the second form of self-assurance is that the self-assurance kind of form of confidence is that it only comes when you own up to the fact that you are nervous about something, that you're inconfident about something, if that makes sense. um I saw a lot of people growing up who seem very confident, but now in hindsight I look back and I realize that their confidence was just them posturing. It's like a puffer fish. They're blowing themselves up, projecting themselves to be something in a way usually that's very loud. It's typically usually somebody who's very loud come in and then own the room. um but in hindsight I think about it, actually a lot of these people were probably very nervous and they were trying to kind of fake it till they make it. Maybe there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like when you project yourself that way, like there's this expectation that it will keep growing, that you're projecting yourself as this shadow thing that's like bigger than you are. And there's a weird sort of dissonance that's always within you where you feel like you're an imposter because you never match up to this big thing that you're projecting yourself to be, and you're hoping and always chasing this shadow, hoping that one day you'll be big enough to properly be it. I found that with myself, like the better way to get confidence is to own the fact that I'm afraid of something, and to not be afraid to tell people that I'm afraid. So if I, for example, were to go back to my 14-year-old body now, and there was a girl that I like, my way of asking her out actually wouldn't be to kind of have a script in my head, I mean, like okay, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna ask her out in a smooth way. I would actually do the opposite. I might say something like, actually, I'm very nervous. I'll say hi with a hi. Um, I'm nervous to say this, but it's important to me, and it's important to me that I give this a shot because I would like to try something with you. But could I ask you out? And I think that kind of energy might go better because even if you fail, I feel like there's a sort of bravery there because you're just coming out and saying, hey, I'm scared, but this is important to me, so I'm gonna give it a shot. In a way, you are owning your fear, but you're also telling the girl that she's important to you, and that's why you're scared, because you're scared of this failure, you're scared of her thinking you're not cool, you're scared of like you trying this and then people laughing at you, but you will still go through these flames to ask her out because it's important to you. And I think there's something sweet about that. I feel like, and as teenagers, like we are all not developed. Not that I'm a teenager now, but I'm saying like teenagers are not developed yet. I recently learned from my colleague Nadia that our brain don't fully mature until we're like 24, 25 years old. So imagine your brain at 14. So I'm sure there are a lot of girls that also fall for this kind of posturing type of confidence, or they will just laugh if you say I'm nervous. But I feel like in that case, then maybe it's not a good partner for you, lah. And that usually, as the person who is, how to say, that is asked out, you also, if you are like, I think girls are asked out more than guys, lah, right? So then their job more usually is to choose. You have to choose who you want to be with and stuff, or hang out with, right? And then there's also a kind of a confidence test there where they have to choose well, and that choice of choosing well comes from filtering well, which also comes from them having a good sense of what true confidence is. And if they don't have good role models in their life, right, to kind of like understand what true self-assurance is like, then they will not also be able to choose properly. And in a way, it's all karmic. It'll work out because they'll end up choosing people who are posturing because they don't know how to actually look between the lines or look beyond just this initial surface confidence. to be able to see actually this guy, he's so show off, he's so loud, but what is really underneath the thing is nothing much leh. And I think a lot of people end up sometimes choosing bad partners because they don't have good examples in their life when they were kids of what proper self-assurance and proper ownership of fears and vulnerabilities, and how that can be such a strong and powerful and good thing to have in a partner. Then they end up choosing what on the surface looks great and loud, or is comes to the forefront because they catch all the attention. So I feel like sometimes it's very self-selecting and karmic in this way, that it's not just the proposer or the asker, it's also the receiver or the considerer that will also choose their fates in life based on not just how they act, but what they choose from how other people act. So I think going back to the point, I think the point here is that you should try to be self-assured lah, wherever possible. Try to find your kind of brand of confidence by owning your fears. And I think it's something you can get better at. In a way, like I'm usually quite okay with telling people that I'm scared. Like nowadays, as part of the work that I do at my companies, we do public talks and stuff, and people ask me how I feel, I'll go, I'm scared lah. Like I never spoke to 400 people before, I'm scared, but that helps you to lift it helps you sort of breathe a sigh of relief a little bit, because I've owned it, and now that I've owned it and acknowledged it, I'm not trying to ignore it because it's in the periphery of my vision and it might surprise me later. Now that I've owned it, I've looked at it, I've acknowledged it, I can categorize it or compartmentalize it and move on to the next thing I need to do in life, So I think owning vulnerability is something you can practice by just, even if you're not comfortable with it, try to say it to yourself first. I'm actually scared, but it's okay. I'm scared. Here's why I'm scared. It's because it's important to me. There's a lot at stake, but let's move on. And as you do this more and more, I think it can be something that you get better at. So the rejection will come with that if somebody don't want to choose you because you are scared. But I think in that kind of way, sometimes the outcome is selecting for you also what would be a good fit for you lah. So in that sense, rejection also is not a bad thing. If you say ask out this girl that you like and then she says no to you because you are too vulnerable, then it might be sort of a signal that she's not comfortable with vulnerability, which is not good, because vulnerability is something that we have to deal with, in our relationship, in ourselves and stuff like that. So it's not too bad, if you get a rejection because of you following this owning up of your vulnerability. Another thing that I also struggled with was, and I think this is related to a lot of this like body dysmorphia stuff nowadays, the idea of muscles and physique and appearances in school. Like I don't think I was a good looking guy when I was in secondary school, but it's so weird in secondary school because your appearance is so not set in secondary school, you know what I mean? Like secondary school is when puberty hit, then your height is like fluctuating here and there, then your face also sometimes big compared to your body, then your body grow later to fit the thing, and you don't really know a lot of times if you're gonna end up being like your base appearance is gonna be sort of like attractive or not lah. I'll put it that way. So you don't know if like you're gonna have a good base to I feel like everybody can be attractive physically with regards to like, or you do makeup, or you do your hair a certain way, or you dress in a certain way that complements your genetic base build. But in secondary school, you don't even know what your base build is yet. You don't know you're going to be tall, lanky, flabby, chubby, whatever. So it's so difficult to wrangle that. And I remember in secondary school, the thing that maybe it's different nowadays, but what we gravitated towards was, as a form of like aesthetic currency, was muscles lah for guys. For girls, it's probably something else, maybe boob size or height or something. I don't know what it was within the girls. And it's only later that I realized that actually there's probably a very wide disconnect between what the guys think the girls like and what the girls actually like in the guys. And I think in my case, I put too much emphasis on the physical musculature of myself in terms of trying to be attractive, which is very difficult because we already talked about how, during puberty your aesthetic and your the way that you grow is a mess. You're growing at different rates in your body. You barely fit your uniform from year to year. And then you got acne. I had very bad acne when I was a kid. And all the hair also don't know how to do, because I don't know what my face structure is gonna be. Didn't bother. So what we leaned towards, was I think a very like evolutionarily basic idea of usually what is attractive in a man, which is muscular lah. So we would compare muscles. I remember one time we compared the veins in our hand after we exercise. You go physical exercise class, then you get this like vein in your hand. And then I heard from my sister one time that she said, oh, don't drink cold water after you exercise, because the veins will pop up. And I told my friends, and we would just keep drinking cold water after we exercise, because that was our own social currency. And thinking back, I'm sure the girls didn't even care. Maybe they did, but I was very surprised going back if they said, well, actually, last time I just really like it when guys have veiny arms. In fact, I think nowadays, like, if I ask my wife, she probably say it's a bit gross, it's like your insides coming out. And I think guys also don't dare to ask. Like, I never dare to go to a girl and say, actually, I'm interested in acquiring your interest in me. So, like, what is the way in which I can present myself physically such that you might choose me, And her answer might yield some very unpleasant things, a lot of things that we might not be able to control. Like, I wish you were taller. I can't control my height, right? Or I wish you had more hair, I wish you didn't wear glasses. I wish you were not nearsighted, and all these things you can't control. So there's a large amount of body dysmorphia there as well. And I feel like a lot of guys might actually carry that forward to when they become adults. I know I did, because I was always very not concerned I was very self-conscious of the fact that my body, right, like my genetics is as such that I find it very hard to grow chest muscle So I disproportionately do like exercises that were supposed to grow my chest, and I abandoned doing exercise that's supposed to do my core, which actually has resulted in me having quite a bad lower back. So now I'm trying to do more core exercises, because last time what was popular was like sort of this like inverse pear-shaped body where you had a wide chest and wide shoulders and stuff. So I would disproportionately do exercise there, but actually the interesting thing is that actually musculature, or at least like physical attributes, do have a role in sort of like I think partner selection, because having good physical appearance could be an indicator that this person is healthy, generally speaking. And you would want a partner, right? Not just to have offspring, but like, let's say you want to have a certain lifestyle with your partner, you want to be able to travel, go and hike and stuff. You want your partner to be of a certain physical fitness, right? So I think there is a role to that. But when we, and not even teenagers do this, adults do this too, right? When we put a type of body as fit, like we oftentimes, and this is still happening today among adults, we oftentimes forget about the idea of genetics and how genetically we are all just built very different. Like, and we can't all look the same. Like, some people naturally have bigger chests and the chest muscle grow easily. Like, I have this area I just cannot fill out. Like it's like a Christmas tree, my wife calls it. It's like here lah. I just can never grow muscle there, whatever I do, So I'll probably have to like target it very specific, do very specific exercises. But actually I think that to a point, right, will go beyond the point of having a good physical fitness routine already, because it should be more about like, okay, I want to be able to do certain things. Like, if I'm a hiker, I want to train these muscles so I can do this activity that I like. I want to also then now, for example, I'm targeting my core because I got lower back issue, or I want to be able to do handstands, so I'm going to work on my upper body. It should be more like functional and also like more lifestyle based, instead of just let's do this to look this certain way so that people think I'm more attractive. But maybe that's not wrong also lah. I think that's okay to a certain extent, but within reason lah, right? So like, if I had to give myself advice as a young kid now, I would say like, just be fit, like just be able to do a lot of different things, be able to run far, be able to jump high. Not say higher than other people, jump as high as you can, max out your potential when it comes to jumping. Max out your potential when it comes to running. Max out your potential when it comes to upper body strength, and try to like maximize the things you can do with your body, so you can explore many different types of activities. That should be more the thing. And I feel like if you chase it in that way, you might actually ironically be naturally more attractive to girls, because you can do a lot of things, you're cool with a lot of different types of sports, and you also have this self-assurance of not being too concerned about how your body looks, but you're just naturally like keeping up with what your body is able to do. And I think that could be one tip lah that I think I'll give myself. Um, and I think the last thing is the idea of, I think, emotional maturity, or at least having emotional fluency and being able to express ourselves emotionally. I think a lot of times the strength in men comes from being able to be stoic. And as somebody who's a primarily logical thinker, I've delved in this realm for very very long, but even I now have to understand and admit that emotions is very important, and emotional fluency is one of the coolest things you can do as a guy, to be able to. I've seen guys do it where, in their ability to be vulnerable, to shed tears without feeling shame and apologizing, right, actually come across more attractive to girls, because it's like he's such a sensitive guy. And when you say sensitive, not like he cry easily, it's more like he's able to easily understand the nuances of what somebody is feeling and to respond accordingly. And that stuff takes practice, and it took me so long before I even started to look into that area. I used to think it was like beneath me. It's like, yeah, this kind of thing, like if I can do the job well, if I can make it with the technical skills, why do I need to care about what people feel? But that's not correct, because we've evolved as social creatures. So it is at least 50% of the game you have to play in life. So oftentimes, because we don't understand it, I think guys, right, we try to pretend it doesn't exist, and then we tell ourselves that is a form of strength. It can be, because sometimes stoicism, or the ability to control yourself so that you don't react unintentionally in a way that you don't intend to something, right, to a stimulus, right, is strong, right? It means you have emotional strength. But there's a lot of weakness that I have borne over the years in just cutting shit out because I don't want to deal with it, because I don't know how to deal with it. So there's a lot of like facets of emotional intelligence. There's like emotional capacity, like how much are you able to tahan, to tank, to take on for somebody and listen to somebody. How much are you able to bear before you break? It's like emotional capacity. It's like HP, in a game. There's emotional fluency, to be able to understand what is this thing I'm feeling, what is this thing that I think this person is feeling, and how do I help this person deal with that emotion? How do we talk about it? What is the vocabulary that we use to talk about how we feel? Emotional restraint, or tactical emotion, which is like tactical emotional communication, maybe we call it that, to be able to diagnose a thing, and then to be able to say the right things at the right time, and not just blurt things out and say, I'll just give you the whole truth because that's my favor to you, that I'm honest like that, I'm blunt like that. And I'm still learning so much of it, because I've wasted so much time trying to be strong by not crying, to be strong by not reacting to things. I hear this a lot, like, oh, he's so cool and detached. And I think, like I said before, I think got certain strength to that. But in a way, like I think me as a kid being very stoic, being very stone-faced, was actually like me being a very like superficially confident person. I'm projecting this thing that I'm actually not. I think real stoicism and real emotional like control comes from having a huge capacity, such that when people say things to you that are not nice, when people tell you things about things that they are feeling, you can tank it without getting bothered, because your emotional HP is so much, you can take so much damage. And it also comes from like emotional fluency in being able to know that, oh, actually if I break now, or if I immediately say this now, I immediately respond like this now, it will make this person do this and that I don't intend, and I don't think it's good for them or good for me. So I'm gonna hold this in, and I'm not gonna react in this way, even though I think I feel like reacting this way the most. then that is a form of real strength. So even though the outward expression of it seems the same, this person is taking some emotional expression or some emotional damage and they're not reacting. It can come from completely different places. It can come from the first one being like he is just shutting himself off. He's not able to deal with it. So it comes across like he's just stone faced and it doesn't affect him. But he's not even letting it affect him because he don't have the ability and the fortitude to let it affect him. Then the second stronger way is that this person has seen it before, has dealt with it before, has enough capacity to process it without overreacting, and that is the one that we should try to be. So I think as a younger man or guy or boy, I think what I would advocate is that you try to practice emotional things. That could be in listening when somebody is sad about something. I used to do this thing a lot where if somebody is sad about something and they're telling me about it, I immediately try to solve that problem. Even if I don't tell them what my solution is, in my head sometimes I'll be like, yeah, this kind of thing so easy, just do this. But in the listening is where you will get stronger, where your emotional muscles will be developed. So you have to learn how to listen and not say immediately like what the solution is. And I still do this problem a lot because I'm often in problem solving mode. So that's something I gotta work on too. So that's the first thing, listening. But the other one is also in like expressing yourself. If you feel something, when you find that space to be able to do it in a constructive way, for you to then practice telling people how you feel. We often do a lot of these like automatic responses like, hey, how are you today? Good. Maybe if there's time and space where you practice like saying, actually, I feel a bit scared today. So why? I got a talk coming up that I'm very worried about, never do this audience before, or like there's this thing at work that I'm really struggling with, but okay lah. Because I think like when you do that, right, especially in small talk situations, I like it a lot because it's interesting, first of all, because everybody's expecting you to say, hey, how are you doing? Good man, how are you? Good. And that's it, right? It immediately makes it like almost like medium talk already. Not big talk necessarily, lah. You don't go too deep with that, but immediately becomes medium talk because you say, not too good, I'm very worried about this thing. But also like in most social circumstances, you are forced to kind of end it well also, because if it's a 5 minute interaction, you won't just typically lah. I mean, some people are a bit more like leaning towards depression like that, where they'll just end it on a depressing thing. But I think like typically social convention would try to have you find your way out. So you say something like, yeah, it sucks. Wow, I'm very worried about this thing. But I try lah. Maybe I'll find my way out. You ask me tomorrow, I let you know. Then you laugh it up. You kind of laugh and finish it. So it teaches you to taper off that emotional expression too, because there's somebody else there and you're worried about imposing too much or like being too negative and ending it on a low for somebody else's day. So when you do that a lot, right, I feel like for me at least, like I get better at doing it to myself too. When I worry about something, I go, yeah, never mind lah. I'm gonna try my best. Then if it fails, never mind lah. Learn from it. Note down some things, and then do better next time. And I'm better at doing this and compartmentalizing the fears that keep attacking me every day, because I say it before, and I've practiced it. So listen and speak to people, and I think like that's some easy ways to get better emotionally. I feel like a lot of it comes from parenthood too. Like you have to see how parents are a great place to practice this stuff, but parents could also be a bad place to do it, because if your parents are not emotionally fluent in that way, it could be a very like just a not nice experience if you say, actually I don't feel too good, but I'm struggling with this. And it's like, this kind of thing, come I show you how, do this kind of thing, scared for what? Ayo, you're a man, right? Don't scare this kind of thing. Then you can't really get anywhere there. And if you do that, you listen to that too much, it invades your head. It becomes one of these devils on your shoulder that gets at you too. So you also have to, I guess that's another point I could add, like the idea of curation, to hear all these things from other people and your own inner voices, and to sort of go, actually that was not nice what I said to myself. I'm gonna consciously identify that as an insecure thing that I just said to myself that's not nice. I'm gonna cut that shit out, to curate all these things that you tell yourself or other people tell you, to leave some things out that don't belong, or if you don't belong in your psyche because they're not good for you, and then you'll be better able to deal with all these insecure thoughts that come to your head from time to time. So yeah, I probably drifted very far from what I'm trying to say lah, but I think the point is still there lah. So these are the three things that I would advocate for my teenage self to keep in mind. And actually, these are things that actually I'm saying it now, right? It's a reminder to myself also, because I've not mastered these things, and I'm still dealing with it today, trying to get better at all these things. So to recap, first one is confidence versus self-assurance. To always try to get towards self-assurance, or self-assured internal confidence, and the key to that is in owning the fears that you have inside you. Second one is the idea of like, what was it? Oh yeah, aesthetic. To be able to realistically understand how big of a part genetics play in the way that you look, and that we all have our base genetics that we cannot do too much with, and to try to approach our physical appearance and our exercise and how we modify our bodies from the point of view of function and lifestyle, and not trying to go for some model that somebody said this is good as a general sign of fitness, because fitness ultimately is what you can do, not what you look like, I think. And to be very careful of body dysmorphia. Even as guys, we hear a lot about body dysmorphia for females, but guys struggle a lot with it too, and guys oftentimes don't have the emotional fluency to express it, which is the last point also. Emotional fluency, to be good at listening and to be good at expressing our emotions, and to not be afraid of going into our emotions to find out what's happening. A lot of that emotional I keep saying fluency, but I think that's the best word for it, because fluency hints at the idea of like knowing what it is. Because when I feel something within me, then I'm like, I just feel negative, and it could just be around me, but if I don't acknowledge it, right, sometimes I don't even look at it. And I've had it before where I feel shitty for the whole day, then I force myself, like, I find a way to like grab it and look at it, and like, actually, why am I feeling bad? And so you look at it, it's just a stupid little thing, forget about it, Like, sometimes I just feel crappy because I'm insecure about something, because I'm actually scared of something. And when I actually look at it, then I tell myself the nice things I need to hear. This thing, give it a best shot lor, worst kind of worst. Worst kind of worst, this thing happened, that thing happened, you project the worst, then are you okay with that? It will suck, but okay lah, I'll still survive, to live another day, okay lah. And then the thing will just disappear. So, and then looking at stuff, you'll be able to like next time more immediately like spot things the moment they come to you and you feel something, and you'll be able to spot it in other people too. So yeah, these three things are things I want to work on, and things that I wish I worked more on as a kid. So yeah, thanks for listening to me ramble. Maybe I'll do more of this. See you.